Ladies and gentlemen, there is no better way than to kick off the weekend on Sportswire Radio and talk with a man who figuratively and literally puts hardcore wrestlers to shame. And this is a platform that has had on, maybe you might want to say, some of the biggest hardcore deathmatch wrestlers around. As a matter of fact, our guest tonight has actually defeated one man that has been on this platform not once, not twice, but three times. And he's actually wrestling as we speak about an hour away from my house. And I'm talking about none other than Mr. Jimmy freaking Controversy. The last time we saw this man in a ring, he defeated him. Another man he's been in a ring with is actually celebrating a birthday today. A man I've also interviewed. A man that actually showed a gun live on this platform. And none other than Mr. Obey. Another man that's certainly pretty much everywhere at this point in the hardcore deathmatch world. Another man he's been in the ring with and technically holds a victory over and a bunch of other opponents is a man that we kind of call as the landlord of Sportswire Radio, and none other than Mr. Mac Tennas, or I affectionately call him Mackie Boy. Our guest has also literally been blown up almost like the 4th of July, and 4th of July is 2 weeks from now, just give or take, and he'll talk about that in that match with, I guess a man you'd probably know is the Carnage Cup 10 winner and maybe the heart and soul of IWA Deep South, none other than Mr. John Rare, the man that has probably been the most influential than any other person in this man's career. Our guest tonight will also talk about maybe the biggest victory he ever had in his career last year in the first round of Carnage Cup 13, which also includes Mr. Rare himself. He'll also talk about Carnage Cup upcoming this year, but he'll also talk about an event he's putting together next month, which is very important to him and it's very important to us. And I'm going to talk about some of the things about it and why I'm going to support it and endorse it. Our guest is also going to talk about his transition from the backyard to maybe the deathmatch scene in a match that maybe some say is the most violent match in history. Plus, he'll talk about what it means to him to be a juggalo. And no, we're not talking about the insane clown posse. Everybody thinks it's about the ICP, but he could definitely roll with those guys. I'm not going to ask him about his rapping skills, but I'm going to definitely talk about his wrestling skills because there is no question that our guest here fits to a T the description of all wrestling matters. And after all, in this platform, we certainly always proudly talk about hardcore deathmatch wrestling and those that have certainly dabbled, like our guest, in the backyard and the underground. I could go on and on and on about our guest, and most notably, he does have one of the biggest accomplishments out there for any hardcore and deathmatch wrestler, and that is the second annual Spider Boudreaux Memorial Gauntlet Deathmatch winner. Certainly a big accomplishment. We'll talk about that. Plus, who knows, whatever else. And after all, we are in prime time, as I stated, the brightest lights, the biggest stage. And there's no platform like this one. And I know our guest has done a whole bunch of podcasts, a whole bunch of interviews with a whole bunch of other peoples. Some might be spooky, some might be weird, some might be everything in between. But he's never met somebody like me. And sure, I might live about an hour away from Jimmy Controversy, but I can guarantee you, yours truly and Jimmy Controversy are two complete opposite ends of the spectrum. But ladies and gentlemen, I digress. It is now time to give our guest that you might want to say hardcore like introduction that he has long deserved on this platform, and especially since the likes of Mikey Anarchy have gotten hardcore, yes, hardcore, Obey, the birthday boy, Jimmy freaking Controversy has gotten 3 times. Mackie Boy, I mean, Mac 10 at this point is here so many times. He collects rent from people who come on this platform. It's a long list of people. Kato, I'm sure he's known Kato a bit. Everybody knows Kato. And it's certainly a long list of people in the hardcore deathmatch scene. But it is now time to give you, sir, that introduction you've been waiting for, the world has been waiting for, but most importantly, I've been waiting for. So with the Sports Report. Number one cable sports show, the second annual Spider Boudreaux Memorial Deathmatch Gauntlet winner. Simply put, they call him the Deathmatch Juggalo. Brian Wade. My friend, how are you tonight?
First of all, that's a hell of an entrance right there, man. Larry Legend might have some competition with you.
Well, I'm going to make you laugh. I shouldn't say this, but we've been doing a lot of shooting on Sportswire. You were so important tonight that actually, I shouldn't say this. I've never actually said this to anybody. Jimmy Jimmy invited me actually to do commentary for tonight's Pro Wrestling Venom show, but I didn't get back to him. You know why? Because I got you. You defeated Jimmy Controversy. How could I go and do a Pro Wrestling Venom commentary show and turn down the man that defeated him a month ago? I mean, let's go. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. So, listen, there is no better way to be here. This is the only place I want to be. I don't want to be anywhere else but here in the Church of All Wrestling Matters with a man that is the example of it, the textbook definition of all wrestling matters. A man that has pretty much done it all in the backyard, the underground, the indies, the traditional types of wrestling, the hardcore and the death match. A man that has figuratively and literally been blown up like the 4th of July, and it's not even 4th of July, my friend. We had to do it this way. I actually think it was my longest intro I've done without the Hall of Fame speeches, but it's good to be with you. I know you've done podcasts before. I know we were speaking, and I want to give a big shout out to Joseph Tibbs, who set this up for us, because Joseph Tibbs, one of my biggest supporters in 5.5 years. I mean, Joseph Tibbs, who, by the way, I think was filming the match where you defeated Jimmy Controversy. Let's give Joseph Tibbs a big shout out, a big round of applause. He was the one that said, you know what, you got to speak to you. And I'm like, okay, whatever you say, Mr. Tibbs. You're a big man, very big, very intimidating. I might be a tall man, but he's a big man. And I was like, okay, whatever you say. But obviously, we knew who you were. We obviously knew the resume. We knew what the results have been these past few years. And obviously, it's an absolute honor. And I want to say it again. I would much rather be speaking with you than being in part of Newark and watching Jimmy Controversy in Pro Wrestling. Oh, we love Jimmy, but you defeated him, so I have to obviously be here with you instead. So just wanted to let you know that. Boy, I think I'm going to be more back in the firing squad once again. But obviously, it's good to be with you. You know, how you feeling? You know, I know you've done these podcasts before. I was listening to one you did, and the guy was like, I don't know, he was like opening up for like 10 minutes, didn't ask you questions or anything. And I'm like, what's wrong with these podcasters? You know, I listened to Judge Joe Dredd do one, and the guys were like talking about toys and like, I don't know, like they were almost like wanking off in their mom's basement. I'm like, let's go. Come on. You have the wrestler here. Let's ask questions. And I'm going to ask the easy one. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling a lot better than I have been. I've had a little rough week. I had some bad news we'll touch on later. We're
going to definitely touch upon that. I'm going to talk about that in a little while for sure. Absolutely.
It's been a hot week. We've got a heat wave here in South Carolina.
I'm in New York City. You have no idea what I went through to get here early. I was in Manhattan because I was where I'm lucky. I do a lot of things to make a lot of money, and I went into Midtown Manhattan, and it was like such a nightmare to get into Midtown Manhattan today and to come back home. It was like torture. And you can only imagine what the subways feel like compared to outside. It's about like 97 degrees in New York City today. So, and it's supposed to get even hotter apparently. So, but I'm not complaining because you know what? Here in New York, winters, I can't deal with it anymore. So at this point, I would rather burn to death. Give me burning to death. Maybe, you know what? Maybe you'll put me in the ring. After some of the things I'll ask you tonight, you might want to blow me up like John Rare attempted to. So maybe that'll be my punishment for all the things I've said on Sportswire lately. So thank you very much.
We love you too much. Can't do this.
Some people like me, other people don't, but that's okay because it's always good. But let's talk about some other things first. We'll certainly talk about July. We'll talk about July 27th. We'll talk about that event. But let's talk about, obviously, let's go first. The last time you were in a ring, May 5th, 2024, IWA Deep South. And speaking of Jimmy controversy, you got a victory over him, a very impressive victory. A lot of different things happened there. And speaking of people that appeared in the match, well, the birthday boy himself appeared in it, Mr. Obey, and he sort of helped, but sort of didn't help. And there was other things that happened there in the match. But for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, let's kind of go right at the top. Talk about the victory over Jimmy Controversy and what it meant.
Well, I watched Jimmy work Bryant Woods and Necro Butcher at Carnage Cup 13, which was impressive for someone his size to even survive that alone.
Yep, sure.
But it really grabbed my attention, and he really earned my respect to that. And I went to Kevin, and I was like, I would like to do a program with this guy. And we come up with this whole thing with him being, the sergeant or whatever. Well, it sounds bad, but it's kind of like a poke at BLM. We put Juggalo lives don't matter. And
I did see, yeah. I mean, I did notice some of that. I was like, I don't think he could get away with that where he lives in New Jersey, or certainly where he is tonight. I'll just put it that way. Where he is tonight, if he tried some of that, as much as I love Jimmy Controversy, I don't think he'd make it out alive, more or less.
Well, controversy breeds cash, so let's just say that.
Oh, I'm aware of that. Trust me, I've interviewed him 3 times.
We were really just trying to cross the lines there with it, but upon getting ready for the match or whatever, we shot our promos. He shot a hell of a promo, way better than mine could have ever been, which is one of my weakest points in wrestling. I'm very, very horrible with promos. But we get into the match, and we told a beautiful story, in my opinion. It was a beautiful, violent story, as I said many times about a lot of my matches. But we had a great match that day. The referee, don't mind him, guys. That's Troy. But we had a great match, a really good one. Beautiful, violent story. The things that got me though was that Larry on commentary, Larry Legend, he was totally, we told him that we were going to do the knee on the neck thing, and he's like, well, that's fine. I'll just say in reminiscence of that crackhead George fucking Floyd. And I was like, what? He says, yeah, I'll just say that. I was like, you're okay with this? He's like, yeah, absolutely. He says, you're IWA Deep South. Y'all are known for crossing the line. So we did that spot, and we didn't get as much heat as we thought we would for it, because I guess people just wasn't paying attention. Or
did you want that heat? Did you want that reaction? I mean, did you most more or less, pun intended, you want the controversy?
Yeah, well, me being a part of the Deep South roster alone is enough to be controversial in their opinions. You're watching for the first time here in IWA Deep South. We are the black sheep, the true outlaws.
No, I mean, Mac has been here. We've spoken about it. Cato and Mac have been here. Mac's here like every other day, and Cato was here about 2 weeks ago. So I know a little bit about IWA Deep South. Obviously, from Mr. Tibbs, he's spoke about it to me a lot off the air in the past. I would say 6 or 7 months, sure.
A lot of the heat comes from people that have never been to one of the shows. They never got to see it and everything. And I tell that people all the time, before you pass judgment because of a logo and what's inside that logo, and because of some stupid bull crap from years ago on the internet that got just way blown out of proportion, come to a show. Andy Lawler from another group on Facebook, Deathmatch Elite, Andy Lawler came to this show right here, and he had the time of his freaking life. He's going to actually be coming to Carnage Cup this year. So, I mean, give it a chance before you knock it.
I got to say it, as we're watching the match itself, I always, to me, look at hardcore and deathmatch wrestling. To me, it's a science. It's a craft. I mean, I look at it and say, it takes a lot to do what you guys do. I don't look at it and say, oh, it's garbage wrestling. It's not wrestling. No, it's absolutely wrestling, because what you guys do, there's a real technique. I mean, I look at it in many ways. You're just as important as technical wrestlers and all the wrestlers that everybody raves about, because what you guys do, to me, I couldn't pull off. Ask somebody like a Will Ospreay, ask somebody like a Kurt Angle in his prime and heyday. They couldn't pull off what you guys have done. To me, what you guys do every single time you go out there, to me, I'm just amazed that, when more and more I enjoy hardcore and deathmatch wrestling. I knew a bit about it. I've obviously watched it. I grew up in New York City, so I knew ECW. I've seen stuff here and there, but really in the last year, because I'm friends with a couple of British hardcore deathmatch wrestlers. One guy, Radu Bulat, another guy, Necro Daddy, who were kind of doing their own versions of some of the things you guys do. I really have a really fine respect for it. And really, to me, it's a craft. And to me, it's just as important as any other form of wrestling that, if you don't mind me saying it, some of the wrestling snobs and the wankers out there rave about.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what people don't realize. We are classically trained. I started. I was in the Indies, of course, but my first, backyard, I was actually traditional there and hardcore. So, but I'm
And
classically
most
trained,
wrestlers
and I
are.
was
I
trained
listen,
by.
Jimmy Controversy. I speak with him. He was showing me some of the stuff off the record, what he was training with, and he wants to wrestle guys outside of the realm. And I think there's a lot more than people realize what you guys can do in just about light tubes and barbed wire and fireworks and flaming tables. No, you guys, if you watch some of the stuff, you guys do things like suplexes. You guys do things like DDTs or different things that somebody would say might be technical or whatever it might be. And I think that whether it's moonsaults or swantons and sentons and whatever else in between you can figure out, you guys do those things as well. That's why I just give all the credit in the world to what you guys go out there each and every day to do.
Right. I mean, we go out there, and there's a lot of guys that can, and there's a lot of guys that can't. But we're having fun at it. But it's tell a story. You got to tell a story. Me and John have told one of the best stories I've ever been a part of. Best storylines I've ever been a part of. Uh, it was violent. It's full of suspense. It's full of mystery. It was full of just every emotion you could think of is filled with it. And I think it's one of the best stories I've ever told in my career. And I've been wrestling for 14 years now, so like it's a big thing for me.
And that's what wrestling should be about. To me, there it should be that form of storytelling or that form of where something you're invested in emotionally in. And I think that that's where wrestling really succeeds most. And it doesn't matter about what's Dave Meltzer rates you or, how many stars something got or whatever it might be, because to me, you want to keep coming back. It's like going to the movies, right? If I go and watch a movie, I'm invested into the storyline. I'm invested whether it's in the action, the drama, the development of the character in the film. And I think it's the same thing in wrestling. You need to have a little bit of form of everything. And we're watching this match here between the Deathmatch Juggalo Brian White and Jimmy freaking Controversy. And we see the birthday boy himself here, Mr. Obey. And Obey is an interesting guy because I've interviewed him. I've seen him in a whole bunch of different places. He runs kind of in the circuit with Jimmy Controversy. I've seen him in GTS, obviously, UWF, Pro Wrestling Venom, TF Crew, and just talk to
You
me
see
about.
there,
I was about to ask you that. Go ahead.
she something about when me and Obey have always gotten along. We got along good at Corners Cup 13 when we met. Nothing but good vibes I got from him and everything.
Mhm.
But it seems like when this mystery voodoo lady shows up, he's changed. And as you see in the match, I mean, I don't know why, but he attacked me. I mean, before I went through the curtain, we were back there joking and laughing and talking, and then he comes out and does that, and I think I was more flabbergasted than anything because for as far as I knew, he hates Jimmy Controversy as much as I
Yeah,
do.
they've actually
So
gone back and forth, and whether it's GTS, TF Crew, Pro Wrestling Venom, it's UWF. Yes, it's all that. There's definitely a
see,
long history they have.
I thought he hated him, but he came out and got me instead. So I was just mind blown. But other than that, Obey's a great
Maybe it's an
guy.
East. I guess maybe it's an East Coast thing. Obviously, Jimmy and Obey are East Coast guys, and you're a Southern guy. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it all out.
I'm right there with you.
I don't know. But we're watching the match here, and we're certainly seeing some of the punishment. And if you want to follow Brian White while we're watching some of this here, I'm going to put some links up here shortly on social media. There is his Instagram and YouTube. Very simple, straight and to the point. That's his Facebook. And if you want to buy some merchandise, I have links for those visually as well. And we see what the murder worshiper himself, the Sarge Jimmy Controversy, is about to try to do to you. And obviously, it looks like you're in a whole lot of trouble. But things are going to certainly develop very shortly to help you.
Them handcuffs were there. I didn't even notice it, and like my heart sank because like as a deathmatch wrestler, that's a pretty vulnerable. You don't want to be too vulnerable when you're in a death match because there's so many weapons that can be used against you that you just are not going to be prepared or ready for. You know what I'm saying? So like, no, and then he gets the keys and chunks them, and I was like, this motherfucker threw the keys away. How am I going to get out of these things?
Well, he's actually trying to. What he's trying to do is actually. Basically put a hate crime on you. He's basically about to arrest you for assault. I mean, basically, if he's going to basically
he threw them into a pool there. By the way, this was not a backyard show. This was a front yard show. But anyways,
he threw it into a front yard show. I mean, talk to me. What is a front yard show for the audience?
We didn't do it in the backyard. We did it in the front yard of a private location.
Ah, I see, a front yard. That's an interesting one. So now I will now know that is in my repertoire now. Front yard. It is a front yard match, not a backyard match.
Hey, and another thing about this show is we had the cops called on us at this show. SWAT team showed up on us.
Well, Jimmy's one of the cops. Couldn't he have been able to help you guys get out of that? Or nah, probably not.
That's why they came. I think that's why they came. Nah, we know why they came because they explained why. But it was just if you wanted to fucking make your mark on pay-per-views and get the deathmatch community or wrestling community in general just talking, you get the SWAT team called on you because people are believing that what's really happening out there is fucking a massacre. You know,
I'm curious for the audience, and was obviously seeing this match start to unfold a little bit, which is eventually going to work in your favor. Why would the cops be called? How does that go about? If you guys are in a yard and does somebody call randomly, how does that all go about for me? I'm curious.
The neighbor on the other side of the hard cam saw the body and Hardcore Hillbilly having a match, and when she looked up there, she seen him stabbing him with a tube. So she calls the cops, and that there's a shooting going on, stabbing going on, and all kinds of stuff. So they show up. SWAT team show, got the guns drawn and all that, telling everybody get on the effing ground. The only person that didn't get on the ground was Bryant Woods. Bryant Woods stood tall. My heavyweight is the baddest MFer walking this earth. I don't care what anybody says. Changed my mind. You know what I'm saying? But he's the only, when they says, get on the ground, he stood right the hell up. Stood right up. And
so what happened to him after that? What did they do, more or less?
Well, they just told everybody, but then they said, who's running this? Whatever. Well, when he came around the corner with his gun, he seen there was a wrestler. He says, is that a damn wrestling ring? And he puts his gun down. He says, who's running this shit? And then Kevin, everybody, not the workers, but just like everybody in general just went, they pointed right at Kevin. So Kevin had to go over and talk to him or whatever, and they got it worked out. Everything was good. He just explained to them what was going on, and they let it be. And
have you ever won a match still handcuffed?
Never. That is
you had a first. How does that make you feel?
Unique.
You've had a unique career,
I have. It's been crazy. And by the way, no cap. I took all that forearm, and he knocked one of my teeth out.
Oh, so I guess then you went to the dentist the next day, or his teeth still knocked out?
As you could tell, I mean, I've had I've done some rough things before wrestling, and I haven't gotten them fixed. But that's the biggest thing that people try to target me for or whatever, which it doesn't bother me, folks. Anybody's watching this, if you want to attack me for my teeth or call me a meth head or whatever, go ahead. Because I can sit here and proudly say, coming up in November, I've been clean for 20 years of crack cocaine and methamphetamine. So if you can't touch that with a stick, I'm proud of myself. And if that's the best you got to attack me with, well, God bless you. And
well, you know what? Some people have a lot of time on their hand, and they should look in the mirror and maybe reflect a little bit, because obviously you've gone out there, you've certainly done a lot for the wrestling community. As far as I'm concerned, you don't look like you're on meth right now, because you just wrestled Jimmy Controversy. And if you were on meth, I don't think you would have walked out alive in that match, but you obviously did here. You got a victory. And, I'm just curious, what has it been like for you recently to wrestle on pay-per-view? A lot of people come on this platform and can say that they've been on pay-per-view. What has that been like, especially for a guy like you who's really been through a lot in his career? Just talk to me about that experience.
Well, believe it or not, my first major pay-per-view. Now, I did shows with Deep South. My first show was on Title Match Network, and don't get
Yep,
me wrong, Title Network is a great place, but a lot of
absolutely.
you're gonna keep up to date. Luckily, we have Rob Black and Extreme Pro Wrestling's website, streamxpw.com, and they have brought us on board. My first major pay-per-view was Carnage Cup 13, and I was messaging the vets, and I've been doing this 14 years, like I say, and I still message the vets, and I was like, "You got any advice for your first pay-per-view and stuff like that?" And some would say, "Hey, work the hard cam. Always be aware where the cameras are and stuff like." Which you do need to be aware where your cameras
Why
are.
is that? I'm curious because again, we do speak with a lot of wrestlers, as you know, but maybe I guess with the exception of Mac. Mac obviously is also, been in IWA, Carnage Cup, and different things like that. But I mean, most of the wrestlers we have on this platform are pretty much, in the backyard, the underground, some in the independents. I have interviewed, some different guys, but I think by and large, most of the people that come on this platform are mostly YouTube wrestlers. So why is those things important, for the audience? And talk to me about that.
It helps tell your story better. It really does. Like, and it also, you know, uh, it helps with kayfabe, whatever that is. You
Yeah,
know,
I don't know. I always tell people I don't know any of these terms. I don't know what a mark is. I don't know about what a booker is. I don't know kayfabe. I like to tell people that I'm not a wrestler, but I just try to, obviously present the story. But again, does it make you've obviously had this journey 14 years. You've obviously been in the backyard for a large part of it. Now you're starting to get this exposure. And I'm just curious, do you appreciate it more than maybe some that maybe are younger guys and maybe after a couple years? Talk to me about that.
absolutely. Because I mean, I come from a very very small town in South Carolina, very small town. We
Where
don't even have a
where are
stop.
you from in South Carolina for the audience?
Town is Donald, South Carolina. It's in Abbeville, South Carolina.
Okay.
Or Abbeville County, South Carolina.
Okay.
Very small town. I started backyarding with my cousins, believe it or not, and literally in the backyard in the woods, we had ropes and hose pipe tied around pine trees, and
Wow.
we put old mattresses, a tarp, wood and tarp, and more wood, and we wrestled like that for a little while. Well, then we upgraded and actually got some rope with like rope, and we tied it around the trees, and we did it that way. Uh,
Wow.
we met a group of guys from Greenwood, and everybody chipped in their money, and we got a real ring. And then we started doing shows in there. Well, we didn't have no pad in that either. We had to put blankets under the canvas in certain spots to do the bumps, so we didn't hurt ourselves too bad. Um, and I went from there and went to the indie scene, and that is a whole shock coming from backyard going to the indie scene because
Why is that a shock for the audience? Why is that a shock?
it's because in the backyard, yes, there's politics and stuff, but it's more of a relaxed atmosphere. When you get into the independents and when you get into professional wrestling itself, these guys, and I myself, I do too, but they take it very seriously. Like, you're gonna shake hands before and after you get to that locker room. You know what I mean? You're gonna be respectful and listen when the veterans are talking. You're gonna do what you're told. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna pay your dues. You're gonna put that ring together. You're gonna tear that ring down, even if you did wrestle right after. If you were in the main event, you're still gonna tear that ring down when it's
I
over
remember
with.
Dean Allmark, who wrestled in TNA, was considered to be maybe the greatest British independent wrestler of all time, or certainly is right up there. Would talk about he would wrestle a show, he'd have to put the ring down, bring it back up the next day. He was doing events for a company called All Star Wrestling in the UK, which was basically the thing in the UK for about 20 or so years, and he did it for about, I would say, about 300 shows a year. And that's what he did. And, in the independents, that's certainly a big part of it. But it's interesting that you said about all this kind of dues paying. But in the backyard, at least, again, I'm going to say something that I'm sure a lot of people may not like. It seems to me, though, in the backyard, there is this kind of, at least, even though we might fight in a way, even though we might have some toxicity and some different things that go a little bit back and forth, maybe it goes maybe below the belt, but I feel like at least people in the backyard seem like they want to stick together sometimes more than guys in the independents. I think sometimes in the independents, you talked about the fact about storyline. You talked about the fact of, building a character when we're watching the match with Jimmy Controversy. But to me, a lot of guys, and I've interviewed probably just as many independent wrestlers and backyard wrestlers, and to me, and I'm going to say something very controversial because, well, it's my platform and I can say whatever I want because I'm out in the wrestling world. I think sometimes a lot of independent wrestlers could actually take notes from backyard guys because they come on this platform and A, they can't talk. B, they don't really have much of a character and they don't seem to keep the people's interest. And I think in the backyard, for whatever reason, I see more of that storytelling. I see more of that overall flow, and I see more of that investment. And sometimes I think in the independents, guys take it literally. Yeah, I'm a professional wrestler, and they treat it like a job, which is great. Don't get me wrong. You talked about the professionalism. You talked about the shaking hands. I come from the world of politics. I totally understand that. I worked in the government very briefly for a state senator. I've been on almost every single capacity in a campaign. I get all that. I've made thousands of dollars a month on campaigns. I understand that. But to me, sometimes independent wrestlers, they don't have the spirit that I see in the backyard and the underground. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. They're not humble. They think, well, I made the show now. I can take it easy. You never stop learning. If you want to stop learning,
I agree about that, but I just think sometimes independent guys, for me, and I've interviewed a lot of them. I've interviewed about maybe 300-400 of them in the UK, and the guys come on here, and yeah, they're great. Listen, their talents are phenomenal, but they can't talk. They can't keep my interest, and I'm bored half the time. Whereas the backyard guys come on here, like, I'm into it. I'm into the storyline. I'm into the character. I'm into the journey. You know what I'm saying?
well, see, it's funny we talking about this because when I was in the backyard, I got a violent shove into independent. When I say that, there was a match called Light Bulb Massacre 2. And when it happened,
Oh,
we
I've
got
got
to
it
see.
right in front of me. I'm glad you brought that up because I actually have it right here. So we'll actually watch it because I don't have a problem with that. Anybody knows me. I have no problem saying anything or putting anything up on the screen. As a matter of fact, I have it right here on the screen for the audience, and you can actually see it. We go down memory lane with some of it, and I mean, what are your memories of this? And we
This was
see it
my
all about
first.
to unfold.
This was my second death match in the backyard. This was me. I was Lil White at the time. That was my gimmick. I was Lil White. Versus Malice. He was the GBYN Global Backyard Wrestling.
I know the
Federation, I
Global
think, or something
Backyard
like.
Wrestling Network. I'm sure you know Mr. Rad Dad then. Rad Dad Radley
Yeah.
Belmont, a man that I have interviewed. Yep.
Well, Rad, he gave that title to Malice to defend against myself, which was Lil White. This guy that's coming out now, his name's Asylum, and another guy named Rock the Pimp.
So this has
The
to
thing
be
about this,
about now. This has to be when 2012 or so. This looked like.
this is probably 2010ish, 9ish.
I was close. I was close.
Now the thing about this was SCBYWA WrestleFest 2. At this one, WrestleFest for us was when we brought all the backyard feds in South Carolina together for a big show to all the workers from each fed work each other. So it was a big celebration of the backyarders. I mean, we were the outlaws because the Athletic Commission declares backyard wrestling as an underground fight club here in South Carolina.
Wow.
And yes, it's a serious offense. So, excuse me. That was our way of bringing unity. But this company right here, SCBYWA, was the company that actually when we got the cease and desist from the Athletic Commission. We became South Carolina Wrestling Entertainment. We became an indie.
A lot of backyard companies always put entertainment in it. Now I know why they would put entertainment in the name.
It is sports entertainment. You can call it what you want. It ain't ballet. The physicality is real, but it's still entertainment. it is still sports entertainment. I don't care what
Yeah,
anybody
I can see that. I think that's a fair statement. I mean, I do think that there is some entertainment. I can go with that. Yeah, all right, I can go with that.
realistic here. There's still the inner kid in us that still love to see certain things, and it just we get a chuckle or a kick out of it when we see it in wrestling. But this match, like I say, was my defining moment in my career because it really put me got me noticed really quickly. Actually, the athletic commission here in South Carolina, when they're training new agents or whatever to look for stuff like this, they use this video that you're watching right now is on file at the South Carolina Licensed Labor and whatever regulations department to train.
Oh
Oh,
man.
train people know what an underground fight club looks like. There I come right there. I was so young and so skinny. God, I was rocking the mohawk. That was my thing, man. Back then, I love that mohawk.
Were Mohawks
That
the
made
thing
me
in 2010? I don't remember Mohawks being the thing, but you certainly rocked it for sure.
because somebody wanted to. I wanted to be different. I mean, and this match right here, like I say, I let everybody, and we had a lot of people there, but I let all them backyard fans that we all did this show with. They knew that I was that motherfucker, and I was that dude that would go that extra mile, and that's what touching on what you was talking about earlier when the difference between backyard and independent. Backyard, we got more heart, man. Because we're having
That's
fun
what
with
I
it.
see. I just see that spirit of creativity where, I've been doing this 5.5 years and I got my start covering the British independence, really. And, I love what a lot of those guys have done. The talent is certainly phenomenal, but a lot of guys would come on here and it's like, there's like no, I hate to say it, it's almost like sex without love. There's just nothing there. It's just, yeah, they're here, they're wrestlers, but there's just nothing. To me, there's no. I mean, there's been exceptions. We work with one company, Colory Championship, or I call them Colory Community Wrestling. They've been great. A few wrestlers here and there, but I just look at it, and again, the independent guys that have been on my platform over the years, I would say like 70% of them have come on here and there's like no emotional investment in them. They're just here. It's almost like it's a job. It's like they're not believable. Whereas by and large, a lot of backyard guys that come on here, they're believable. I'm like, I want to talk more with them. I want to go watch them. I want to go see their product. I want to be invested in it. And that's what I see.
Let me warn any yarders that's watching this is looking to go to the next level. Let me warn you, and I'm gonna explain why that happens. Okay, here's the reason why this business will joy. This business will suck as a succubus sometimes. It will take this pure life and joy out of you and make you just want to throw your fucking hands down and hang the boots up and just say, fuck it, I don't want to do it no. It's a cutthroat business. It really is. And you have to watch who you trust. You have to watch who the ones that call you brother. You have to watch a lot of things.
You know what? We even see, I got to be honest with you, as we're here with the Deathmatch Juggalo Brian White. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally with Low Wrestling Matters. I even see it here in the backyard. There's certain companies, certain promoters. We had a situation Wednesday with a show, and there were wrestlers that were in the chat. They work, I don't want to go rehash and go down memory lane, but, you see it in the backyard. You're starting to see it here. And, and it's really a shame because I tend to think as wrestlers and wrestling companies, we should all stick together. We should all collaborate. But, there's certainly a large segment of people that they don't want that. They want to just do their own thing and kill everybody. You're going to try to figuratively, literally kill yourself, but that's a different killing. But, my point.
They can't separate business and personal. That's why. It's just
yes,
a business.
I agree with you, and I agree with you on that. I know there's a lot of people that want to say, "Oh, I'm going to get to comments," but as I see it here, there are people that have not. How can I say it? Differentiated what maybe somebody does as a wrestler versus their personal life, and I think that's an unfortunate thing.
Well, Brian White and Brian Cummings are two different people, two completely different people. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's some similarities, of course. You always want to bring some of your personal into your gimmick, but
that's how the wrestler becomes most emotionally invested to the individual watching, for sure, absolutely.
And the reason I've stuck with my gimmick is because I've always been the underdog. As you see here, I'm the smallest man in this match. I've always been the underdog. I've been like a bump dummy, pretty much. I've gotten my ass handed to me by some big guys over the years, but as time went on, I earned the respect and I started picking up wins. I mean, I didn't win a lot of matches starting out. Now, luckily, my first independent match, luckily, I actually won against Mike Jones. So I was
Oh, I
blessed
know Mike
to
Jones.
yeah. So I was blessed on that. That was my first match ever, and I won that. But I had to take a lot of ass whoopings, and it didn't
You
feel
were
good.
lucky
It
though.
did.
Your first match as a pro and you win. And a lot of guys don't win the first match. They don't win until the first. I had one guy on about 2 years ago that lost his first like 57 match. No joke. He literally, I won't even mention the guy's name now because he said a few things, which I don't like. But he, I think, wrestled his first like 57 matches or something like that in the UK and lost all of them. So, you
Right.
can run the gauntlet.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm saying, people just gotta they just be careful. Like I say, guys, enjoy your time in the yard. But when you come up this business, it's either you're all in or you're all out. One or the other. You
Well,
can't
I've
be in between.
interviewed some guys. I gotta say this as we're watching the match start to unfold. There's obviously a guy in the backyard that a lot of people, myself included, really, really love and are devoted to is a guy Jack Delta, and he talked about that. He tried through the training process. He did about 6 months training, and he felt that he was going in the direction of being an independent wrestler. He's very good friends with a guy James Fury, who's a very, very well established independent wrestler, and he's done a lot of things across the country. Makes a living as an independent pro wrestler, and he felt from his experiences that he went back to the yard. And I've had experiences on this platform with guys telling me that they were in the
He,
indies and they go back to the yard.
I just seen that right there where he punched me and he
Yep.
pissed me off so bad. He did
And
that.
how about that drop kick there you just gave?
That was weak as hell. But because I had steel toe boots on this match,
Well,
and
you know what?
and
You
I was
did a
trying.
better drop. You did a better drop kick than I did. And as we're watching the
Now
match, let me get this. Yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Here comes this frog splash, which was where I just started doing it. I actually started right here, where it just really took off, and I use that in my move set every time now. But this is probably one of the prettiest ones I ever did. Actually, I don't think I
That's
could ever
actually
do
a
it again.
pretty good one. I got to admit, that's pretty good in form.
Thank you. But
I try.
but
But let me get to some. Let me say hello to some people out there. First, I want to say hello to my friend Angela out there in Brooklyn, who said she's watching the show. How you doing, Angela? Nice to see you. Hope you're keeping cool out there in Brooklyn, New York. And Deathmatch Avengers, how you doing there? Can't wait. And also hello to Zilla. Zilla is saying hello, and want to say hello to one of my guys also in CCW, who's their World Underground Champion, Mr. Jam Dog himself, also another veteran, respected hardcore wrestler. Want to say hello to another great person from the South. He is our only general manager in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He is Mr. Hillbilly Tilly, who always says it best. True wrestlers do it for the love of this sport and put their blood, sweat, and tears in it. How you doing, Hillbilly Tilly? He is getting ready for the Alliance Wrestling League's next show coming up next Saturday. And it's a free show, and it's called Endgame. So you can go to the Alliance Wrestling League for more details. They just hit 500 subscribers on YouTube. Congratulations, boys. And Deathmatch Avengers is happy we're live. Joseph Tibbs is in the house. I'll come back to him for sure. There's Mackie Boy. I think you're going to see Mac in a little while for sure. You'll definitely see him, I have no doubt. Also, this might be somebody very special and important to you as we're about to see some more light tube action. And how you doing, Mrs. C? Mrs. C, how are you? I think that's your most important fan. You better make sure that fan's the most happiest one out there. Mr. Tibbs is here. Want to say hello to one of my favorite owners out there in the entire wrestling circuit from Tennessee Backyard Wrestling, Mr. Joshua Allen, who says evening to both of us. TBW is getting ready now for their next episode, 164, Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern time. So I'm looking forward to that. And we see some light tubes, and certainly it's not Power Rangers, and you're about to go and go swinging. That hurt.
yeah,
That really hurt.
it's gonna get interesting. I really surprised myself in this one. I'd been known for taking beatings and taking pretty good wallopings, but this one I was really nervous about because there was a Light Bulb Massacre 1. This is Light Bulb Massacre 2, by the way, because the previous year myself and Malice were in it, and we were using the U-shaped tubes, and we had a few big ones, but we were mostly using the U-shaped ones, and we were nervous as crap about it because it was just a different experience. But this
How do
one
you
we
just
had,
get used to pain like that? The physical force, the
to be
trauma that
honest,
your body takes. I mean, how do you just get used to that?
in my opinion, um, you've already survived the worst day of your life, and people don't realize that. They don't take the time to realize. You've already survived the worst day of your life and the worst pain you've ever had. Um, and you try to block that out because when them fans get behind you, dude, it's uncanny. The feeling is incredible.
So it's an
Um,
adrenaline rush, right?
it really is, and I tell people when the blood comes down and it hits your lips and you taste that, I don't know, your primal instincts kick in and you're fighting like the last monkey trying to get on Noah's Ark. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going camp. You know what I
That's
mean? You're
funny.
going crazy. It brings something out of you that you just never have expected to come out of you, I guess you could say.
Oh, that's a good point. I got a good question from Zilla, and I'm going to let Zilla actually ask this one. So, how long have you been wrestling, and what was your favorite wrestling match in your entire career?
I've been wrestling now 14 years. My favorite match.
In your career, yep.
Ooh,
She said
I,
3, but she had 2, but that's okay.
I'm honest God, my favorite match ever was against John Rare and the Ring of Fire death match at Violent Shit Cup.
Oh, I'm going to play that in a little while. You just wait. You just wait. So
Yeah,
that
that was
one is.
my favorite because number one, John was a reason that I got to really loving Southern Deathmatch wrestling, and he took a chance on me and brought me into Deep South and gave me so much advice and so much wisdom, personally and professionally. Um, love him to death, like love him like a father. That match was just special because I proved to him that I belonged. You know, like I deserved that chance to tell that story with him, and that I deserved to share that ring with him. You know, and I earned his respect finally, and I that's all I wanted was to earn his respect. We had a match previous to that, and it was a little street fight in a hot ass National Guard armory.
Yeah, I think I did see that match actually. I watched it a couple of days ago. I think it's the indoor match in the indoor venue,
Right.
correct? Yeah, I saw
That
it.
was that was my first Deep South match. But we had this hunger for more. We was like, no, we can't just let it end like that. We gotta bring the angel of death out, and we gotta show the real. You know what I'm saying, we have to show the real side of us that we know we can bring that shock and awe factor that's gonna grab your attention and grab your fans' attention and grab the world's attention. Um, and we did that. We did do just that. But I'm that's my favorite match in my entire career, and I'll take that over winning any title. No disrespect to any title I did win in my career, but I take that. I take that over any of them.
Well, you are also a second annual Spider Boudreaux Memorial Deathmatch Gauntlet winner, which is also a very important accomplishment. That one I would certainly say is important still. And let me get to some more comments here. First of all, let me get to Angela on Twitter. She's or X now as they call it. She says that she likes the match. Yeah, a lot of people are going to remember this match in backyard history. Certainly, again, the old days of the Global Backyard Wrestling Network. I'm going to come back to that for sure. Larry's roasting. It's bloody art. Yes, exactly. I think Deathmatch agrees with some of the things I said. Mackie Boy says, get him off. He can't breathe. I think he's talking about the whole thing with you getting handcuffed by Jimmy. Never thought about that. Want to say hello to one of my boys from the Promo Wrestling Federation, which I know we're going to eventually be starting up in about a couple of weeks or so. The Wicked One, Judas. Whoop, whoop. Want to say hello to Mr. Cato. And you got any Cato news insights for me on Cato? Because Cato was here a couple of weeks ago. Anything you want to say about Cato, the controversial one?
I certainly do. I do want to say this. That is one of the most genuine, most humblest, most craziest men I've ever met. When I met him for the first time at Southern Outlaws, and his professionalism is through the roof.
Yeah,
His
what a great
attitude,
guy. I got to be honest, and I'm not just saying it because he's in the chat. Just a great guy. Just really
yeah,
on and off the air. True, like you said, very genuine.
yeah. His attitude for the business and is amazing.
And
His
another
willing,
backyard guy too. Started out in the yard in Wisconsin. Another guy that certainly appreciates and he came up a tough guy, a tough veteran. No joke.
his wisdom, his not wisdom, excuse me, his willingness to try to do anything to make wrestling good, and that's where me and him get along good because I want to do anything I can to get you talking about wrestling, whether it be something stupid over the edge or whatever. As long as I got you talking about it, I got you talking about it. You know what I
But
mean?
that's how it should be, and I think that's a theme with a lot of you guys, whether it's Mackie Boy, whether it's yourself, whether it's Kato, whether it's controversy, whether it's Obey, whether it's hardcore. A lot of you guys who've been up, in the game for a while. I think that it's a similar theme. It's people you want to be around, people that you definitely want to, kind of just
Well,
spend
and
time with, and I think that's important.
Cato is one of them. He is one of them that I would proudly surround myself around in any locker room. And he went out there and with all due respect, Cato, when I say this, I hadn't seen many of his matches before this. But when I seen his match against Tommy Trainwreck, they told an amazing story. The match would I'd give it 10 out of 10 in my
But
opinion.
that's what I
Um,
say about hardcore wrestling to me is that you are telling the story. That's why to me it's just as important as any other form of wrestling, because I do think in hardcore deathmatch wrestling you kind of see a character come back and forth and deal with all these obstacles, all these pitfalls. I mean, literally in matches, pitfalls like nobody else has to deal with. That's why I think what you guys do, it's an art. It's really, to me, a science. I just think people should certainly not gloss it over and say, oh, well, it's this, or that. But actually, no, there's a deeper meaning, I think, in hardcore and deathmatch wrestling. And I didn't get down. I think he's talking about something we talked about a little while ago because I'm a little behind in the comments. Pulling some, yeah, he refers to Jimmy Controversy handcuffing you was similar to the 1999 Royal Rumble. That's a good catch there. It's a good catch. Most
we got
forget
him
the
talking.
upbringing. And I agree with Mr. Allen. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, do forget where they come from. And I think
You're
that's
rude.
why, to me, go ahead.
No, I'm saying they forget their roots.
Yeah.
I mean, I never forgot where I came from. This is what you're watching right there on that screen. That's where I came from. I came from that backyard, and I made some of the best memories of my life in the
Well, and
backyard. They kept,
I appreciate you because you actually were like, no, let's talk about the backyard. Some guys I have on who are independent are like, no, no, no. I don't know if don't mention it. It's almost like a dirty word, but I appreciate you. And I think that's why there's some more comments. I want to say hello to one of my buddies tomorrow who's going to be wrestling over in beautiful Palo, Iowa, in the Palo Community Center for the IMF's latest show, Summer Heat. Obviously, IMF are very good friends with Resurrection Wrestling. They work really hand in hand with Summer Bash upcoming. And I want to wish Il Drago a lot of luck and a lot of support in his match tomorrow. Really looking forward to the 6-man tag there. And he'll be wrestling with Blonde Don and Freddie Daniels, the RCW champion. Very excited to see that match. And it looks like we see some form of Uranagi there, and the match continues to unfold. And
yeah, I'm being the only one that was brave enough to take my shirt off in the match. No one else was.
well, maybe that's why you're still here, and that's why you're doing what you're doing. Let me ask you though. Let me ask you a different question as we're watching the match, and I will bring on Mac in a little while. But I want to present to you something after the match, which I actually created for you, and I hope you'll appreciate it. But what did the Global Backyard Wrestling Network mean to you?
if, if I'm gonna be honest, okay.
Well, please be
Because
honest. Please be
yeah,
honest.
I didn't even know who the hell Rad Hazard was. I didn't know nothing about that. I was just wrestling because I wanted to wrestle and have fun because wrestling was something I've always been passionate about. That's the only reason I was doing it. And then when I found out that this was an actual, title match, I mean, for something like that, and I started watching Rad's videos and I realized he's got a following. He has a strong following, and people are going to see me. I'm going to get that exposure, and who knows what could happen from that. Um, I didn't know much about him, but to me now, I thank him and the Global Backyard Wrestling because I wouldn't be where I am today. Nobody would have known a damn thing about me if he hadn't sanctioned this match to happen. Nobody would have known who I was, I don't think. And that would have been fine with me. But, this really put me on the map.
And all these years later, I mean, he's become pretty successful in his own right over in GTS, with everything he's done there. And here you are, being a part of Carnage Cup last year, this year, and just having a lot of success. And it's also speaking of the Global Backyard Wrestling Network. There's a guy, Copper Dragon, who's obviously become almost the Dave Meltzer of backyard wrestling. He was also very integral to that. And we're actually having a guy come on Sunday night named Mr. Hardcore at 6 o'clock Eastern time, who was a part of the Global Backyard Wrestling Network in Georgia, GWC. And he's going to talk about some of those memories. And the ironic kind of part of all this is Rad Dad, all these years later, is very successful. There was another guy, a part of the Global Backyard Wrestling Network, that's always on this platform, Sean Jovi, and he's trying to recreate the Global Backyard Wrestling Network, some would say. I'll leave those details to Mr. Jovi, and you're here and having a whole bunch of success, and I think it just shows that, what backyard wrestling really can mean. It is a springboard for so many people, and I hope that people would take notice in that.
Yeah, don't and if you're a backyard and you think I'll never make it to where he's at, that's his story. Don't give up. You never give up on your dreams. I didn't give up on this dream. I never ever gave up on being a wrestler. I wanted that, and I wanted it so bad. And people would always tell me, "You too scrawny," or "You can't do this, you can't do that," and that just put fuel on the fire to want it more. And when I got here, yeah, it's a hard road. I'm not going to sit there and act like it's not. It is the hardest road you're going to take. But at the end of it, when you get to the top of that mountain and see the view, man, what a fucking view it is. It's
well, you know what? You obviously kept going. You didn't give up, and that's why you've started to taste the fruits of your labor. And unfortunately, you're not tasting any fruits of the labor right now at the moment. But
that's he did that too. I'm still on the other side getting some water because I absolutely lost a lot of blood. I don't remember anything that happened after the match was over. Like I cut a promo after the match, and I don't even remember cutting the fucking promo at all. I don't remember it. So
other question: as this match is all unfolding, you're going through all this punishment. When the match eventually ends, were you like, I can't do this anymore? Or what was your feeling after this match kind of ended and such?
Let's do it again.
Let's
do it again. And I know that sounds twisted and sadistic, man. There's no better feeling knowing that you just went through hell and walked through that motherfucker like you owned it, and left a crowd of people that never knew anything about you in a state of awe, just a shock and awe. And the respect of people walking up to you, and people messaging me on MySpace at the time, by the way.
That's going way back. Yeah, that's going way back.
That's on MySpace, just telling me, "Hey, man, I seen you," and I don't know these people from Adam's House Cat, saying, "Man, you put on a great match. I feel like you should have won that. You got some. You're sick MFer, so forth." But like, it's gratifying. It really is. It really solidifies your hard work. But I wanted to go another round. I wanted that belt. I wanted that belt because Rad put some prestige behind that thing, and it really meant a lot to me to be known as one of the most craziest hardcore wrestlers in the country. You know what I'm saying? That would have been awesome. And it was a hard fought battle, but like I say, man, yeah, I was actually trying to get a hold of Rad and say, "Hey, sanction another match somewhere, wherever. I don't care."
Well, I'm sure Rad could actually hear this now because I've interviewed him already, and he kind of knows what we're trying to create here on Sportswire. This kind of all wrestling matters, where we've had this event which is called Summer Bash, which is actually probably not too far from where you live in Bremen, Ohio. It's from July 5th to July 7th, and a lot of people in the backyard, some in the underground, some even in the independents, are going to wrestle on this show. It's for 3 nighs, and in a way, it's kind of trying to recreate the Global Backyard Wrestling Network. It's bringing companies together, and there's like a dozen companies, from all over the country, really, from the Northeast, the Midwest, to the South, and they're here, and they want to go out together and have a good time. Yep.
Let me give advice to these backyard guys here. If you see that, I got a gimmick right there. My trademark.
Cheese grater. Yep.
I had a cheese grater. The sad part is I only got to use it on one person in my whole time. It always got used on me. But separate yourself from others, and that was what separated me from everybody else in the backyard. I was willing to do that, and you'll see this is all shoot. It's all real. He legit cheese grades my head. I mean, it was just something that happened actually previous to this when we were wrestling in between the pine trees. Me and Sean Van did it in a match. And he did it to me, and it didn't hurt. It feels like a bad sunburn, but this one, he went pretty deep with him, as you'll see in a minute. Like, you could see chunks of my skin. Were you
concerned that he did it that harsh then? Were you concerned at all in this match that how harsh he was going on?
I told everybody in the match, don't hold back.
Do
not hold back. At that time, now that I've gotten older and I've learned, I get pissed off pretty easily. But back then, I tell them, be snug, hit me. hit me, make me. I want. If I don't,
Well,
if you
I
don't
would
hit me,
think
I ain't gonna.
I would certainly think now you're more or less going to pace yourself better because you're young years ago, but you're unfortunately everybody gets older by the day, and you want to obviously keep wrestling for as long as possible. And you're now a part of some really big things, Carnage Cup, IWA, and you want to be able to prolong whatever you have left in your career.
You get a set of bump card. You get a bump card with a number on it, and your numbers will wear it up. This is the end of the match, right? This is where I lost. I lost. I didn't even. I don't remember him pinning me. None of that. As you can see, I'm lifeless right there. That was the end of it. Like I couldn't take no more. Like my body gave out on me, and I thanked him for it when I finally came to. But like I say, I don't remember anything at that point when he pulled me into that wall. So and he was really scared at that moment. He thought he done killed me, and he was slapping my face and talking to me, and I came to, and then I slip out, and I walked to the ring to get checked out by the nurse there, and I don't even remember walking to the ring. I don't remember the promo I cut after it. Um, I
Yeah,
do
I gotta be
remember.
honest. I'm watching this match and I don't know what to say. I'm almost like, I don't know. I would certainly advise people probably not to do the same things you're doing here. I mean,
No,
you know,
no, not please, please. If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna backyard or anything, like do it responsibly. Know what you're doing. Protect your dance partner and yourselves.
I
Um,
appreciate you said that because we've had some issues with wrestlers and I don't know what'll come of it, but I appreciate the fact that, you did at least say that, especially now that you've gone pro and you've obviously had success and,
that's why
we just
such a black eye, because there's so many guys that's doing shit like what I just did right there. Okay. I didn't have a clue what the fuck I was doing. I really didn't. I was just winging it. But that's why backyard wrestling, I feel like, has a black eye in the professional scene and all that, because most time it is a bunch of guys that don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just throwing each other around, and it's an embarrassment to watch. It really is. But then you got feds like we were. I mean, we were at least trying to do something with it, make it look, give it some
Yeah,
legitimate.
I really think as we're here at the Deathmatch, Juggalo Brian White, of course, the second annual Sergeant Boudreaux Gauntlet Memorial Deathmatch winner. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, all wrestling matters. And if you're on Sportswire Radio, we are now also joined in progress on the Promo Wrestling Federation YouTube page and the Pride Wrestling Federation YouTube page. I say hello to you and thank you so much for tuning in. Also, if you haven't yet, please hit that sub button for us. We're on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579 as we are here with the second annual Spider Boudreaux Memorial Deathmatch Gauntlet winner, the Deathmatch Juggalo Brian White. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are some feds that at least we've had on this platform in current day that, really do put on a good product. And I think guys do it very responsibly. There are others that, it is what it is, but there's definitely some companies. ROEW to me comes to mind, TBW. Resurrection, I don't really consider backyard. They're kind of in the super underground, semi-pro. I mean, but we're talking about pure backyard companies. I think TBW, I think obviously ROEW, those are companies that come to mind. Underground's, certainly different. Resurrection, NEW, IMF, those are different discussions.
UWF,
Yep.
they
Oh,
are
but
they are
UWF to me is the same thing as underground. It's underground. I don't consider
yeah,
it backyard.
prime example. If you do backyard right, you can get noticeability and respect at the same time.
Right. Yeah. And I think that that's a company that certainly a different dynamic. And, obviously we see the match and it's unfolded. But I actually, in the interest of time, I want to present to you something because I really want to talk about the Ring of Fire. I want to bring Mac on and I want to talk about July 27th. But before I do that, I'm going to take this off the screen if you don't mind, because I kind of got the point here of all this. And obviously, I'm
Yeah.
glad you're okay. I'm glad you're alive. I do want to obviously tell people don't exactly do what Brian White and the rest of the guys did. It worked for them, but it may not work for everybody
It was
else.
a
Please.
time. It was a
It
different
worked for
time.
them. It wouldn't work for me. Although some people might want to see me go through some of that because of some of the things I say on Sports by Radio. But you're a really special guy, and I did something to kind of honor you tonight. If you'd be so kind to allow me to put something on the screen, which I hope you would take as a sign of appreciation, you might want to say.
Go for it, man.
Well, on this day here on all Sportswire radio platforms on June 21st, I'd like to officially acknowledge it as Brian Whiteday. So whether you're here on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579, Twitch at Sportswire Radio, X at Thomas Price 2017. We're live on LinkedIn right now. We're also out there on Facebook at Tom Bryce, Facebook at Sportswire Radio, sportswireradio.org, our internet radio station. We're also now part of the Promo Wrestling Federation is in the Sportswire Radio family. Also the Pride Wrestling Federation, all of the great platforms. We have Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. I officially want to declare this. Brian Whiteday, for all the things you've done in this sport, all the things you've done for us, all the things you've done for the community, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all that you've done. And I wanted to recognize you. Obviously, I'll give you the print copy when we're off the air, but I wanted you to have this as just a sign of appreciation and just to say thank you, because every day what we do try to do on this platform, which most will probably forget, is that we do try to honor guys like you who go out there every single day and put your bodies on the line to go and give us what we want to see. And that's why guys like you are the true wrestlers who do it for the love of this sport, who figuratively and literally put their blood, sweat, and tears out there. So I just wanted to obviously say thank you for all you've done, and I wanted to let you have that.
Thank you. I'm so honored, and that's incredible. That's wow. That's cool. That's something that's definitely going to be both. I'll brag a little bit about that one.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you were, because I did tell you off the air that this would be a different experience than some of the other ones. In fact, I listened to one, I just couldn't even hear the audio on. It was like weird. It was like, what am I listening to? Am I listening to like somebody's like 7th grade, junior high school, like radio experience, like trying to put radio? I remember as a kid, I did a project. I think when Radio Shack was such a thing. And I remember, I think it was my mother bought me like one of these like little mini radio sets, and we couldn't put the thing together. And I was like, that's what I'm listening to. But we're in like 2023 and 2024. But you have this up here, and I'm going to bring Mac on in a few minutes. But before I do that, I do want to obviously get to something that's very important. And if I don't do it, I would be really disappointed if I didn't get a chance to mention. You have a very important show coming up on July 27th. I'm actually going to put the poster up here shortly and talk to the audience on why this is important and why people should kind of go out and try to support this event as I get ready to put it back on the screen.
All right. Well, thank you. July 27th is going to be in Gastonia, North Carolina at the VFW. It's going to be AWS SCW presents A Night for Dora, which is my mother, Dora Lee Stevens. This week, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and she retired and on a fixed income, and she really is having a hard time trying to get the bills and everything together. So I reached out on Facebook, and it's taking a toll on me emotionally and mentally, but I'm trying to keep it together, and I'm doing pretty well with that for the most part. I have a great support system. The fans, my brothers in wrestling, my wife, most importantly, her. But this night we want to do for her because she's never seen me wrestle. She's never, ever got to see me wrestle. Well, I thought, what better way to do it than to do a benefit to help her? Well, I got lucky. Eric Riker, another worker in the business, reached out to me, and he said, "Hey, man, you can do the show the 27th." And I was like, "All right, well, let's get down to the gritty of it." I said, "How much is it going to cost me?" He says, "Absolutely nothing." And I said, "What?" He says, "Absolutely nothing." I said, "Well, I got it. What about the talent and all that?" He's like, "I've already got the talent." I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And we're setting the card right now as we speak. It's going to be action packed. I can confirm that, but I will not confirm yet.
You don't, if you can't say, because I know you put on Facebook already, matches to be announced. So I will obviously let you come on before July 27th, and we'll obviously talk about that beforehand. But what I do want to say, if you don't mind, and before I bring Mac on, I'm going to bring Mac on here in a few minutes, but I want to spend a couple of minutes on this. And the reason I want to spend a couple of minutes on this is actually that since this show is so important, and it's so important to cancer, and, cancer is such a terrible thing. And, cancer is obviously impacting almost everybody around the world, all of our families. And I know how difficult it is right now for you and your family. What I do want to announce is I would like to obviously buy one ticket to this show. So if there's whatever the tickets will cost coming up on July 27th, I would like to personally support that. What I always do here on this platform is a wrestling show that comes up. We always try to support, whether it's the TF crew, which obviously Obey and Rad Dad, what a small world we're a part of. Last week they're in beautiful Connecticut, and obviously this coming Saturday is the IMF Summer Heat Show, and I've obviously donated a ticket to that. So what I'd like to do here for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio and supporters of yours is, when obviously this all gets together on July 27th, I will, make it whatever the ticket is, $10, whatever it is. I will certainly buy one ticket so somebody can go out there and watch you wrestle. And obviously it'll be in front of your mom, but most importantly, to support you on this, very important endeavor. And we certainly are praying for you and your family. And I know how difficult it is. I saw some of your posts on Facebook this week, and, I can't imagine the pain that you're going through. And I can only, there's nothing I can say to make it feel better, but the only thing I can say is that you have earned my support, and I will certainly, donate a ticket. And I hope that would at least go in a small way of showing my support. And I hope that others would join me in supporting you on this cause. And they can actually get involved in a couple of different ways, which is very simple. If you want to get in touch with the Deathmatch Juggalo, these are his links. So if you want to message him directly on YouTube or Facebook, those are the ways you can get in touch and support this man. Because again, cancer really impacts everybody. It's terrible that in 2024, with all the science, all the money that we have in the world, that we're not able to eradicate cancer. And, if you don't mind me saying this, so much money was spent on during COVID to obviously develop COVID vaccines. And, we did as best we could to, whatever side of the coin people fell when it came to COVID. There was so much money spent on COVID, and they were able to at least come up with things to help people deal with COVID-19. But cancer, to me, it's astonishing to me that in 2024 that, we're still dealing with cancer and just, crushing and crippling people's families. So I would hope at the very least, though, that you could join me in supporting this man and his family. And these are some links. I'll put up your social media shortly in a second as well. And, I just want to say that my thoughts and prayers, and you have my support.
Well, thank you. And if I could say this, man, folks, if you have your parents, you're blessed to have them. And myself and Joseph know how it feels to lose parents. I lost my father to cancer. I lost my grandmother to cancer. And this one right here is even harder because, it's your mom. You only get one mom.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. Unfortunately, 2014, my father passed away from cancer. So I understand, it's not easy to go through. Sure.
Nasty word. I hate cancer. It sucks. But my mom is a tough old bird, and she's going to fight with all she's got. She made me as tough as I am. And yeah,
I'd be more tougher than you. And I just seen you go through a lot. With all due respect there, Mr. White.
She's the reason I'm as tough as I am. And if you're watching this, Mom, I love you. We're gonna get this. We're gonna beat it. I promise you, we're gonna beat this.
I think so too, because what you've gone through in the ring, you've literally been blown up and walked right afterwards. So I would certainly say that you're going to definitely help your mom beat it. And that's the poster. And like I said, we'll definitely have more information. I'd be more than happy to have you on before the July 27th show when the card is announced and all those different things. And, again, I hope that you'll be able to take a small solace in my support. But, obviously, I know that you have some, I don't know if you want to call them fans. I don't know if you'd want to call them friends. I don't know what you'd want to call them. But I have, I guess, a couple of, maybe I'll say it in easier terms, compadres of yours that obviously want to get in the conversation. They want to talk to you. They've obviously shared a locker room with you. And after all, one of the guys, you might want to call him the landlord of this platform. And he was kind of missed yesterday, but he's here now, and he definitely wants to talk.
What's up, Brian?
And if I don't let him on, because he's been really actually telling me what the rent is due, I need to come. Actually, no, I don't pay the rent. Anthony does. But the point is, he wants to be here, and obviously, I have to say, it's good to see you, Mac. Long time no speak. And what's on your mind? Because I think we're going to be joined by someone else very shortly.
We better not be. It better not be.
It's not Anthony Steele. It's not Anthony Steele.
Okay,
it's
good.
Not Xavier. It's not Xavier Thorne, by the way. Now Xavier Thorne's going. Speaking of Yardner, going into death matches, but I won't touch you on that.
Man, Tom, you'll just let anybody on here, won't you?
Oh, now we talking crap, Brian. You're gonna get it come Carnage Cup, brother.
Well, I guess you are. You opened yourself up to Pandora's box because there's now someone else here. Do I know you? Do I know you?
Oh, you guys weren't.
This is worse than Steel.
Did you guys really think I was gonna come on here? All my love and appreciation for Brian, brother. I love you, brother. Thank you for keeping up good work.
I actually owe him an appearance because a couple of days ago he actually commented on one of my videos and said, "When can I come back on?" So, actually, well, ta-da! How you guys feeling tonight? You okay, Brian? You might be more worried now than some of the footage I showed just before.
No, the only thing I'm worried about is what's going to come out of the daggone Mac's mouth. As far as
Max here every other day, though. I deal with that on a regular basis. I'm not worried about that.
Hey, Mac. Are you mad?
You know,
are you mad?
You got lucky. You got the glass in my eyeball. You got lucky.
Now, Kato, I could bring up the footage from Saturday Night Riot, but maybe I won't do that because Mac is still the landlord. But I do see that there, and that's some.
Tom, go ahead. Go ahead. Bring it up.
You sure? Because I don't have to.
Bring it up.
It's Brian's show. It's Brian's show. I can't do that to Brian. Brian's here. I mean, will you guys be seeing each other in the Carnage Cup this year? How about let's go with that first? Do you think we will be seeing each other?
You want to jump ahead, Mac? Go ahead.
Well, don't tell me if you're not supposed to tell me. But just, do you think we'll see each other? Do you think for you three gentlemen?
I'm fairly confident. One of us three meet each other. One of us three are.
Well, at least I'm sure all three of you could agree on the fact that if you see Jimmy Controversy, you'll easily beat him, right? Because everybody beats him these days. At least that's an easy softball one, right?
That's how I feel about Jimmy.
Does anybody want to roast Obey for his birthday?
Love you.
No, I'm just gonna say him. I'm actually gonna say happy birthday. I hope you have a great day, and don't come after me like last appearance. Of course. So what would you like to say to Mr. White, for you gentlemen? You obviously lovely, fine gentlemen. What would you like to say to Mr. White before I bring up some more?
Go ahead, Kato, since you came in last.
Hey,
hey, I still came in there, didn't I?
Can't argue with that.
Brian, honestly, brother, when you started messaging me and talking to me, dude, I knew there was something special in the works. And you opened the box, bro. Mac and Joey, RPW, you guys opened up the box for me to get to Brian. So, hey, I greatly appreciate what you've been doing. And I can't believe that. Me and you are actually brothers, man. We're family.
That's right.
I mean, on that note of calling everybody's brothers, Ryan, we both had a similar intake in IWA, and if it wasn't for John, neither of us would have done it.
Right.
John, what does John Rare mean to all you guys then? I mean, that's an easy one I could bring up. It's an easy one. What do you all mean? What did he all mean to you?
Mac was the man of PR when he established himself, and he stayed with him the whole time. And brother, without to me, John Rare is mentor. He's an idol. He's a hardcore icon to me.
He's a Carnage Cup winner. Of course, he's an icon. He's a Carnage Cup winner. I mean, no question about that. I mean, that's pretty easy, right?
First battles with some of the biggest and hardest. I have a similar path with him because we've survived some of the biggest beatings from some of the biggest guys and names in the business. He survived Spider Boudreaux. If you survived Spider, you did pretty damn good, if you ask me. But to me, he is Mr. IWA. I hope he enjoys his retirement. I mean, enjoy the journey for
me,
Brian,
John.
Brian, hold on. Brian, you might want to watch saying that because you might get woods on you.
Oh.
Brian,
to me,
problem, buddy.
Max, shut up. To me, John was somebody who I watched in depth, and having him evaluate me and what I do and bring to the table, it was an honor, and I'm glad that guy is still here, and proud to say that he's part of my life and family as well.
It just shows that what somebody can do to help, anybody that wants it. And he's a guy that's a legend, and he took you guys in, and we see, where all you guys now are going to be and where you will be and such.
Well, let me say this about that. When it comes to Cato and Matt, them, they earn blood. They earn their spot. They earn their keep. And nobody take that from these men. But they went above and beyond. And what the heck, they the bloodiest I've ever got any. Cato, like, don't say or anything like that. They want to wrestle, but they found a family with us because they stand by, they support us, and that's the big thing. If you're not support your locker room, get the fuck out, go on, move on, kick rocks and move on down the road. But if you want to be a part of the family, and I mean, it loves one another, care for one another, brotherhood, bring your ass, take each other out. We are.
I do want to mention something real quick.
You can mention anything you want, Cato.
I got sick after that Alabama show, and I came down with a fever, and I spent my time in the hospital when I was gonna be doing vacation shit with my family, and IWA Southern Outlaws came through and helped me out. Take care of a little bit of business, financial situation, and I dedicate my wrestling to you guys, man. It's a good feeling to have friendship and brotherhood in the locker room. When back in the day, I grew up and everybody's for themselves, dude. Nobody wants to show accomplishments and their appreciation to people for busting their ass in the ring like we do. And I found a brotherhood in these guys, and for that, I'm forever, ever grateful.
Well, don't forget, get your family too.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I have to ask you one question, though, Mr. White. I haven't asked it yet. So what's it like being blown up with like fireworks and firecrackers? I have to ask, I remember as a kid, shooting fireworks, and then they kind of banned fireworks. And, but I've never been blown up. And you were actually basically had that happen to you and walked in and got up right after the match and such. And so what was that like? I know Mac and Cato, they're certainly hardcore experts, but I don't know if I've seen them take firecrackers yet. Maybe I should certainly come back and revisit that. But what was that like? I have to ask, Mr. White.
Well, everybody has a gimmick they don't want to, like. When we were,
I'm having a little bit of hard time hearing you right now.
Can you hear me now?
A little better. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, me and John are in the ring of fire at Violent Shit Cup. I'm already nervous about the fire, like I say, as it is. Fire is so unpredictable. You don't know what can happen with it. Well, at the end of the match, he says, "I'm gonna blow you up," and I said, "What?" He says, "Do you trust me?" No, that's exactly what he said. And he said, "Do you trust me?" And he looked me in my eye. He said, "Do you trust me?" And I told him, "I do." I said, "I trust you with my life." And we got in there and we did our thing. And at the end, fireworks suck. They freaking suck, man. That's what I can say. Cause it's just little bitty pops, pop, 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 pop. It looks like little water spots, sunburn spots on your back when it's over. It sucks.
Back Ted, will you attempt to blow up Xavier Thorne when you have this death match with him, or nah?
It is close to close to the 4th of July, so I might be able to get a hold of some.
There actually are some people out here in the backyard, the underground wrestling circuit, that would probably be very happy if you did that to Xavier Thorne, the psychopath. I'm going to certainly say I would prefer you not to do that, but after hearing what Mr. Juggalo has said, maybe you would want to do it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you never know, right?
Just like Brian said, fire is unpredictable.
Do you think, Cato, you'll be attempting some firework use in upcoming matches, or you don't know yet?
Well, I did a bar sign on a steel chair, a flaming chair by all means. So I don't know about maybe fireworks. I would have to test a little bit out just to see, but probably because I'm just an all-in guy.
Well,
There's a certain amount of things. There's a certain amount of things I won't touch, like razor blades that are sticking about a foot out of the weapon. Nah, no razor blade.
That's a little scary for me. I would have to admit that. I mean,
I got stabbed by Pondo with his knife, so I'm okay with just getting cut. But a lot of razor blades, I would have to really, really be 100%.
But now, Brian, I'm sorry to bring this up, brother, but how'd the hot sauce feel?
Oh.
Hey, what he's talking about there, okay, in the second round of Corners Cup 13, it's me and Chewy Martinez. Chewy and I get out there, and you can tell before the match even starts that I'm nervous because it's Chewy. You know, he's one of the biggest names, another big names I've worked, and I never worked him before. I've just seen his work, and I was nervous as shit, dude. Like, I mean, I was partaking as much as I could to get my nerves settled, whatever. I mean, and listened to them for a little bit and drank a PBR with them and went away for a few minutes to take care of something. And it was about time for our match. And when the match starts, like, Chewy's feeling good. Let's just say that he's feeling really, really good at that point. And we get in there and he's feeding me, but I'm not eating. You know what I'm saying? I'm not eating. So he has to take over. Well, he whoops my ass. Well, after I've already been in round one where I've cut up from glass and it started reopening from bumping on the mat in the ring at the time. This is a fans bring the weapons match in round two. There's this cauldron looking thing. I think it holds plants or whatever. I don't know. It's been like ones you see in your mom's house or something or whatever. But inside of it was lemon juice, rubbing alcohol, salt, and ghost pepper hot sauce.
Oh my goodness.
Well. Oh, and on top of that, Chewy blew a snot rocket in it too.
Now I can see why you're a deathmatch juggalo. You're a deathmatch werewolf. You're a deathmatch juggalo, and Cato, you're the controversial one. But you don't seem like the controversial one compared to these two. I mean, you seem almost like the normal one.
I guess you can say, ever since I got clean from drugs, I kind of tamed it down, but. The reason that made me controversial and why
maybe
I still stuck
like
to
the
the
family-friendly one now. Maybe you're gonna just do family-friendly wrestling these days compared to these two guys.
Hell no! I mean, the reason why I became the controversial monarchy was because I would go to some of the promoters and just bash their best friend that's wrestling. And be like, dude, you really guys want that guy to wrestle on your show?
We've been doing on Sportswire in the last week, and Max Tennant is certainly known for that, and I joined in as well, among a few others. So we've been doing that regularly on Sportswire.
But with age, there comes more growing up as an adult. So I was smart and wise. Now I wrestle and have a great time. Hang on, hey y'all, Miss Naomi Nightmare.
Oh.
Naomi.
It's good to see that you got over the handcuffing and all that punishment Matt gave you at Saturday Night Ride. You feeling better? Much better now, hopefully?
Well, mentally or physically? Because those could be two very different answers.
I'll say physically.
Physically, I'm a pretty tough cookie, so it takes a lot to break me. But mentally, I don't just let anyone handcuff me and just get away with it. Just remember that.
I'm not going to put the footage up there, but Mac is certainly like that. He got the last laugh, but we know who won the match.
For now, maybe. For now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to come back and get you. Don't think I forget.
All right, we're going to say our goodbye.
I might have something for her if she's really into it. I might have something for her.
Oh, really? And Mr. White is back with us. The beauty of technology. You okay, Mr. White? Did somebody try to hijack your technology there? Everything okay? You feeling good?
I'm feeling great. I
that's
think Wi-Fi.
Well, let me get to some comments here first
that's
before
some
I bring
Southern
on another
aliens, bro.
For you, Mac 10, Joshua Allen wants to say Thorne didn't believe in Joe Hendry, and now he's going to believe in some death matches. I want to say hello to my buddy.
Oh yeah, Brian. Hold on, Brian. You remember when I bet Joe at Carnage Cup that I could get into Carnage Cup, right?
Yeah.
And he bet against me. So one of our guys that's been with our show decided he wanted to bet me a death match that Joe Hendry wouldn't show up on WWE Network.
All right, we're gonna say bye, Brian. Enjoy this rest of this talk show. I love you.
Thank you for having me on as well, even if it was just short. And always a pleasure to be on the show with you.
And Mac, I'm gonna kick your ass later.
I'm coming too.
And enjoy your weekend, guys. Thank you as always for all you do, and we'll see you soon. And we'll put this back up on the screen, and there you go. We'll take this up because Mac likes this screen better. But let me get to some comments here. I want to say hello to my buddy all the way from Australia, Mr. Ace Reed of the Wired Up podcast. And how you doing, Ace? Hope you're doing well. Speaking of training, Ace is getting his training to be a professional wrestler, so he's making the transition to the yard to the pros. Want to say hello to Mr. Tibbs. I can, with a shadow of a doubt, praise Brian and what he's done for Resi and Mac 10. Cannot thank Kevin enough. IWA has been like a family, and I consider everyone on the roster my brothers. I think that's couldn't have been more better said than what Mr. Tibbs had to say there on that. I'll come back to that. But I want to say hello to, speaking of hardcore and deathmatch, I want to say hello to our very good friends over there in the great state of Massachusetts, NEW Underground Wrestling. They're having, I think, another thing, kind of like the Global Backyard Wrestling Network, which is, I think, for hardcore and almost all wrestlers, one of the premier spectacles out there going on, the Riot in the Ring. It's taking place all throughout the month of June. We're supporting it here on Sportswire Radio, and a credit to the likes of Jake Matthews and Justin Abelstein. And of course, Mac 10, our Resurrection Wrestling Internet Champion, D'Angelo LaFlame, is a part of it. He advanced in the Riot in the Ring. He's wrestling next Friday there against D Savage. He's probably going to be here for it later in the week on D Savage's spot on Wednesday. So we want to say hello to our very good friends at NEW, almost very similar to our friends in Resurrection. And also, apparently for you, Mr. Tibbs, I don't know if this is exactly the individual. I think it might be, but according to this, it says Mac 10 Steele here, just wondering, how does it feel to sit next to the dude who whooped your ass and took the title you so desperately don't deserve? If this is Anthony Steele,
it is, because he's over there with Joey right now. It is Steele.
So he obviously wanted to remind you about how that all went down. But the good news is for you, Cato left, and we've got an old friend in Mr. Brian White, who's obviously the Deathmatch Juggalo, and he's here. And I got to ask you, Mr. White, I always ask wrestlers this question, but what is your goals for 2024? Do you have goals for the rest of the year? What are some of the things you'd like to accomplish? I'm having a hard time hearing you there. I don't know if you have something in the background, but you need to speak up. Go ahead.
Okay. Hear me now?
Better.
Okay. So I just really want to just have fun and give back to the business and give back to the next generation, because my time is winding down. I'm 39, 40, and my body's hurting over like it used to. So I want to give back as much as I can before my time is done.
Well, I hope that it maybe allows you to appreciate this ride, because you're on a great journey right now. Obviously, Carnage Cup, IWA Deep South. So you're having the run where you want to be. Reminds me almost of Hardcore. Hardcore is another guy, veteran wrestler like yourself, kind of having this second stage of his career, and he's got a lot of momentum. And before I bring on another guest, I do want to get to a comment for you, especially Mac 10. And this individual, I believe, is none other than maybe Xavier Thorne, the psychopath. Everybody's mentioning Xavier Thorne on Instagram. I'm trying to keep up. I heard Aaron Blaze mention him. Shane Davidson mention him. I'm not quite sure why and when and what's going on, but I do want to say hello to Xavier Thorne regardless, because I do consider him a friend. I don't know enough about all these things. He does say, "Hey, Mac 10, this match between us, let's do it. Talk to the suits in management, and let's make it happen. And just remember, it's business, not personal. Is this personal or business, or is it both?"
It's both.
Ah, boy, that's a line. But Mr. Deathmatch Juggalo, there is somebody that wants to come on. It's kind of also his show, and I guess you might want to say he's a tenant of Mac 10's or a roommate of Mac 10's, and
Don't let him on.
Oh, I'm going to let him on because why not? It's Friday night. We're in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, and we're all Wrestling Matters on Sportswire Radio. The most controversial figure in backyard underground wrestling, Anthony Steele. Everybody was waiting for you yesterday. Omen and Soldier were like, "Where's Anthony Steele?" I mean, people were wondering, like, "Where were you last night?" But
I've been busy, man.
were you taking a victory lap after what you said to Mr. Judgment? Was that what it was? You were taking a victory lap yesterday?
Look, promoting, getting shit ready.
So what brings you here, though, to the Deathmatch Juggalo, Brian White and Mac 10? What brings you here?
Just to remind Mac 10 that he doesn't have a championship that he so desperately doesn't deserve. I still think it's funny. You hyped yourself up so good. You said that you're going to whip Kato's ass. You're going to take the Resurrection Hardcore Championship home, and you failed. Not only did you fail at taking the Resurrection Hardcore title home, you failed to take Kato's baby home. And I'm not talking about Naomi. I'm talking about that Hardcore Championship he holds.
The BMF Championship.
See, Mac 10, we understand you're in Carnage Cup. Congratulations.
It's a big deal, Anthony. That's
I
a very
don't
big
see you
deal.
making it far. I really don't.
Why would you say that for?
Because if it happens like Kato just did at Saturday Night Riot, you're going to be out. I give it 5-10 minutes, if that. And then you can be rushed to the hospital, and then you can spend another 3 hours there, and then
will you be at least visit? Will you visit Mac in the hospital, Anthony, or no?
Hell no.
Why not?
Because Mac 10's a bitch, and he gets what he deserves.
That's not nice. He's the landlord of Sportswire Radio. He's here with his brother, the Deathmatch Juggalo, Brian White. And, I would think we would respect our guest here. Don't we respect our guest and Brian White? He's a guest, a very well-respected guest.
Hey, look, I respect him. Hashtag whoop, whoop, whoop. I gotta pay my respects to him, but paying respects to Mac 10, Mac 10 hasn't earned my respect.
Why not? Why not?
Like I said, Mac 10's the biggest bitch of Resurrection.
So are you rooting for Xavier Thorne in this death match against?
I'm actually rooting for a no contest because I hope that they both lose.
Well, you could have a no contest. You could.
The way I look at it is, if Thorne types into that psychopath that he so desperately calls himself now, and then he just does the same thing that Kato did, then boom, that's done deal. Mac 10's going to be put out again.
Now, Mr. Juggalo, you're watching this match, and these two brothers are beating each other up. And how do you feel from once you're on the outside looking in? You don't have to worry about taking any punishment here right now. And Matt goes for the quick pin there, and unfortunately doesn't work in his favor. But Anthony, I'm sure you're very happy to see the match on the screen because apparently the board of directors have asked me to put this match on the screen. So I just want to put it to make clear for the audience. The board of directors actually asked me to put this match on the screen. So, I just wanted to let you know.
That's fine. You see that he's already leaking? Like, look at him. He's so easy to make him bleed. It's really easy. Dude, I could literally just probably walk into his bedroom and then thump him in the forehead and then it'd bleed.
Well, why would you want to do that, though?
Again, because he's a bitch. Dude, I could out wrestle Mac 10 any day of the fucking week.
But Mac is very quiet here, and Angela, who's listening on X, wanted to say it's real. Yes, this match is real blood. It is everything you're seeing here is real. Mac 10 is the deathmatch werewolf who's in Carnage Cup, and this is real. The blood you're seeing, all the stuff here between Kato and Mac 10 to unify these hardcore championships, it is all real. In Resurrection, we don't just use Heinz ketchup sauce. We don't use art packets. We don't do any of that stuff you see in other places. It's all real here. These guys are the definition of kids. Don't try this at home. And you're seeing it, and Naomi's certainly feeling it, and poor Brian White has to watch as an outsider, and the good news for him, at least he can save his body for a couple of weeks at least and get ready for July 27th. But certainly Kato is feeling the punishment, and Naomi's about to be handcuffed. And at least Mac's happy about this part of the match, watching, Naomi get handcuffed.
I do got a question for Mr. Mac 10.
Yes.
Am I going to see you in the Rumble?
You might.
Oh, dude, that means I get to kick your ass in what? Almost a week's time?
Well,
Right.
8 days, just about 8 days.
I'll say about 8 days. Yeah,
About 8 days.
that sounds pretty nice.
But don't you think, Anthony, there's going to be a lot of other people that are going to be targeting you, like the West Memphis Kid, Ronnie Brady? Maybe Brian White might show up. Who knows? It could be a whole list of people. There's certain people in Tennessee backyard wrestling.
At least one of those two names that you just named will actually bring me a fight. And we're not talking about the West Memphis bitch.
He beats you, though. Well, I'll tell you what. They will bring more. They will bring a lot of fights. Some of them will bring fights, but there's going to be a lot of people that might want to put a target on you, Anthony. I mean, you're obviously the most controversial figure in history.
I mean, when you get the biggest guy in the match, of course they're going to target the biggest guy.
And Naomi's certainly feeling some of the pain, and I think Mr. Juggalo is going through some technical difficulties because we're having a hard time hearing him, and he's trying to connect back, but hopefully he connects back with us. But Mac doesn't seem like he's phased at all, though. He doesn't seem phased.
Not yet. Not yet.
He's very quiet right now, Anthony. I would not want to be you later because he could just sneak up on you and put a light bulb to your head or a light tube or barbed wire or, be the boogeyman like Omen Black, but worse because you live with Mac 10. I mean, I wouldn't want to be right now. Make sure you sleep with the lights on tonight. Yeah. You having a Subway at least? That's good.
He is on, aren't you?
And that was funny how Mac just borrows the. I did like that part, Mac. I just want to say.
Well, that was actually a throwback to a match me and Kato had at the Hightown.
Well, there was
I did like that. I did like it. Kato is obviously trying his best to fight back.
I've already put Mac 10 on hush mode for the past 5 minutes. So I mean, it's
no, you haven't. Mac is biding his time. He's biding his time. We have the Deathmatch Juggalo Brian White here, who's back with us. How you doing, Mr. White? Are you okay? I know you're going through technical difficulties.
Gotta love South Carolina, man. Gotta love South Carolina. They're so behind in everything.
That's okay. We're all behind in some way or another. But obviously, we're watching the rest of the match. We'll then get to some, few final things from you, Mr. Juggalo, and we'll obviously let the everybody else enjoy the rest of their evening. Although if I'm Anthony Steele right now, I would say I don't know what I'll be enjoying because Mac is really mad right now. He's really mad. Mac is very mad right now.
Hey, Mac 10 can get mad. He can get big mad. He can get little mad. That's all.
Now, Anthony, I should bring it up. Are you worried about Mr. Silverwolf and some things he's upset about? Because obviously Mr. Silverwolf is...
Actually, I plan on being on the Wolfpack Hour tomorrow night.
Oh, you do?
I plan on it. And,
now, what time is that for the audience?
8 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's 9 p.m. Eastern.
Well, I'm going to have Chase Wakefield on at some point during the evening, so I wonder what more people will tune into. Hopefully, they'll turn into your show and they'll...
Now, Brian, just an FYI, this is where it happened, that photo that I sent to the group chat the other day.
This is the one.
Yeah.
I know, that's the crazy part.
Right there.
Like, if you look, they're slightly round on both sides.
And this is where it all kind of unfolds here. And unfortunately...
He poked me in the eye with the light tube, man.
Steven Silvestri did his job and counted to 3.
Oh, did y'all see the same thing I just saw? Did y'all see the same thing I just saw? That's Mac 10 losing.
That's unfortunate. Yes.
That's Mac 10 losing.
And there you have it. And Kato's got 2 hardcore championships now, and he's a very happy man. And Anthony Steele left, which is maybe good for his safety. I wouldn't want to be him. But, Mr. White, obviously, I know you're struggling with some technical difficulties, so I want to get to a couple of other things.
No, I got it fixed now.
Oh, good. Okay, so let's go to him here anyway for the remaining parts of the show. Obviously, you've done a lot. What does the upcoming Carnage Cup mean to you to be a part of it this year?
Everything, as always. I fought my way to get into 13, which was my first one, and Now coming in another year, you got a little bit more experience, and you got a little bit more knowledge of your opponents and stuff. Which is Carnage Cup is still so unpredictable. Anything can happen. I mean, and there's a line that has to be crossed every year, and we're gonna cross it, I'm sure, because we always do. But it's an absolute honor still. Either way, anytime you're asked to be in the Carnage Cup, that's an absolute honor, you know. And you have to put a lot of literal, like you said earlier, literally blood, sweat, and tears into it. You have to, you know. So I'm honored and proud to be a part of it.
Is there anybody both of you guys would like to face most?
Hmm.
I think Jay Blade, in my opinion, because Jay Blade is a very underrated worker. Very, very, very underrated. The dude can go. He can absolutely just go ham. Love him to death. I think we would put on a good match because he can bring the high flying aspect and incorporate it into the death match, which, as you've seen in that 2 out of 3 falls match that him and Lil Sicko had at Kings of Carnage. I mean, that was pretty fucking sick. That was a badass match, and I mean, he proved that he could go. So I would like to do a match against him.
It's a good choice. It's a good choice. And I'd like to say hello to Ronnie Odin out there. How you doing, Ronnie? Ronnie is watching us on Twitch right now because we're on Twitch. So I appreciate that. Also, I want to get to Angela. Yes, it's real blood once again. Let me ask you then this question, Mr. White. What does it mean to you to be a juggalo?
It means I have a family and a following that we're that can't be taken from me, which is something in a personal matter. Like, you know, I've had everything ripped away from me in my life, but you'll always have the juggalos and juggalettes. You know, we'll family forever. You know, and I guess it's the fact that I know I'll never be alone. But I have my wife for that too. Don't get me wrong. My wife, I have.
You better say your wife is obviously, definitely, you're not alone without, because your wife is the most important person, which I know you know anyway. And
Right.
obviously, we thank your wife for tuning in as well and actually letting us borrow you for these past couple of hours. And I want to say hello to one of the buddies out there of us here. And speaking of our family, Mr. Andrew Lovelace. Of course, Andrew's going to be out there at Summer Bash. He'll be there from July 5th to July 7th, or one of the days. And he is the be all end all, and he is the resident DJ of Sportswire Radio. He's coming back here in a couple of weeks, and he says, "Hello, gentlemen, how you doing?" And I say, "Hope you're doing well, my friend. I think you're going to be out somewhere this weekend wrestling or being at a show, I would imagine. I know next weekend you're at Amplified's free show, June 29th, West Virginia. So I hope to see you there, and hope to see everyone else to follow Andrew Lovelace. And that's the show here one more time, July 27th, A Night for Dora. Information to follow with ticket cost and all that different stuff. And we'll definitely bring you back on here before that to let you know, obviously promote. And again, it's for a cause that's so important. And unfortunately, cancer has just impacted so many people. And obviously, we're praying for you, Brian, and your mom. And I know it's a tough time this week, but to have you here with us live, I think really shows to the character of who you are and just to your fans and everybody else that's out here. And this is what it's all about, connecting with people and collaboration. And we want to certainly give our support, A Night for Dora. And if you want more information on that, you can follow Brian White, the Deathmatch Juggalo, on a number of different platforms here, YouTube, Facebook, also merchandise link. You can certainly go out there and support all of that stuff here. And make sure you support everything related to A Night for Dora. Details to follow in the coming weeks. And we'll have coverage for it on Sportswire Radio before that. Let me ask you this question, Brian, before I get to closing thoughts from both you gentlemen. I know, obviously, Zilla asked you about a favorite match of yours, but I'd like to ask you, is there one or two moments that stand out most in your career so far?
My match against my student, well, my former trainee, Ace Harris. I had a match against him, and it was very special to me because
Last year, correct?
Yes, he wanted that match, and it was very special to me. And you know, I just remember that match because so much. It just took me back to the times when I was training him. He was just a little chubby, scared. He didn't know. He was just out of shape. So unprofessional. I mean, just a little pissant. And he went from that to a great referee to now one of the top names in the Carolinas as far as a worker. So I was extremely proud of that. Number two would be in no particular order. Let me say that because John
Yeah, you
Ray
give me any order you want. I just wanted to
okay.
ask because I always ask these questions to people that come on, especially guys like yourself.
To work John in the solid death match at Carnage Cup 13. That was another one because that right there, the lineage behind that match itself, and to be a part of that. I mean, I was a part of history. I was in John Rare's last match and the last Saul match ever. So I found it to be a great honor on that. And I
Besides the
think
impromptu match where he beat your ass.
that I don't know what happened there.
I won't bring it
But
up, I suppose.
but and I think my third I haven't had yet.
Let me ask you guys both this question, and Joseph Tibbs had kind of alluded to it, but what does Kevin Brannon mean to both of you guys?
That's boss man. That's my
But it is.
brother. Yeah, that's boss man. I mean, I love him to death.
He's the
He gave
owner, for
me
those who don't know, of IWA Deep South. He's the owner of the company.
Kevin took a chance on me when no other promotions or promoters were touching me, wouldn't have a damn thing to do with me or anything. And Kevin took a chance. And I was forever grateful for that because he's given me so many opportunities to be in a locker room with so many great people and so many legends and names that I seen on TV and stuff that I
I
can
was
only dream
hoping
of
tonight,
doing.
I got to tell you both this. We were actually supposed to have Judge Joe Dredd on, and I was really hoping to get him on so I could re-invite you guys into the chat, but unfortunately, he didn't realize he was going to a New York Yankees game, and he screwed up the time. So unfortunately, I don't think I have a spot for him in the next couple of days, so I don't know when that'll be rescheduled. I was really kind of hoping, because I was going to ask you guys, before he comes on, well, what were some of your dream opponents? And I was going to then have him come on and you guys kind of bum rush him and then be like, oh boy, wow. And that was kind of my plan. But unfortunately, Mr. Judge Joe Dredd unfortunately couldn't show up to the jury and we couldn't execute that actually. And oh well, but we'll figure it out one time. But I thought it was important to mention him because just, so many of you I know have been impacted by just what he's done. Just like John Rare has been so important. I think Kevin Brannon means so much to you guys as well.
Well, Judge Joe Dredd, if he's anything like his buddy Sergeant Jimmy, don't cross me is all I got to say.
Well, I know. See, I am actually going to say this. Judge Joe Dredd, I think, is a lot more, a lot more imposing than Jimmy Controversy. I could certainly say I think Judge Joe Dredd. You don't think you think Judge Joe Dredd is less imposing than Jimmy Controversy?
I don't know the man. Let's just say that. But
I don't know.
But Deep South. If you want to come on down there, I mean, come on. We'll do business. We'll see.
Well, that's I actually talked to him about it off the air, but I think he wanted to address it here on the air. But unfortunately, this is he's actually visiting New York for 4 days.
I would honestly say, Tom.
Yes, I want to hear
Judge is just as bad as Jimmy because what is IWA for? We don't make the rules. We break them.
Well, I was just going off the size advantage that Judge Joe Dredd had. He's a little bigger than Jimmy, but all right. Well, I guess we'll never know because he's not here tonight. That was my plan to obviously, really do the open collaborating and just invite you because Mr. Judge Joe Dredd did tell me, well, you can do anything you want. He's like, oh, I don't care. I'm up for anything. Well, I was like, well, I got a little plan, but it didn't come to fruition. But let me ask you one more question, Mr. White, before I move on to closing thoughts for both you gentlemen. What do you want to say to any of your fans out there? What do you want to say to anybody watching this? Just to, just for them to either continue to support you or come and join you on this journey, which you've basically stated is kind of nearing the end, and the best is still yet to come, though.
I just want to say to everybody, thank you. You made me who I am, and I thank you so much for the unwavering love and support over the years. Like when I didn't have nothing before I met my wife, I was homeless and all that stuff. Like I didn't have nothing, but I always had professional wrestling. I always had wrestling, and that's what kept me alive over the years. But my fans, really, you don't know how much you make me want to get up out of the bed and continue to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like that picture right there, that's my brothers at South Carolina Wrestling Entertainment. Man, that was the best years of my life. And if you're in the backyard, you're having the best time of your life. But remember what I said earlier, you know, when you get to the business, when you get to this side of it, you're gonna have to bust your ass, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna make a deal with both of you guys because I owe Max something. And I get the feeling that this will mean something to you, Brian White. We talked a lot about family, talked about your own trials and tribulations. I know you're going through a difficult time with your mom. Obviously, my prayers to you and your family, and I certainly am only hoping for the best. But I'll tell you what, we're going to make this official. So before July 27th, I'm going to want you here that week. Before that show, I want you here. I'm going to endorse the show. We'll talk about when you can announce the card, but I want to do 2 for the price of 1. Because I owe Mac. Mac, I really do owe. He's the landlord of Sportswire Radio, and he's probably going to go, well, we haven't asked me yet, and it's about time, but I think it'll be a good time that week. You know, maybe I'll even do 3 for 1. You know what? I'm going to do 3 for the price of 1 because now I'm really going to go off the deep end. Not only am I going to put you, Mac 10, into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, not only am I going to put Cato into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, that show. Congratulations to Deathmatch Juggalo Brian White. Before that week on July 27th, I want all 3 of you guys to be here at the same time so I can put all 3 of you guys into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame because I don't think the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame isn't really hardcore without 3 of the premier hardcore and deathmatch wrestlers in this circuit right now. So if you'll accept that, hopefully I can get you guys on a show before the 27th. How does that sound?
That sounds great because that'll be my second Hall of Fame I've been in.
I noticed that. That's why I was like, I didn't want to say this is your first one because I know you've already been inducted into 1 Hall of Fame. So I didn't want to. That I knew.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'm honored.
Well, I'm happy to hear. Mac's kind of like, well, what have you been waiting for? I mean, that's why Mac is kind of like, I don't want to get on Mac's bad side right now because I think if I'm Anthony right now, I seriously would be sleeping with one eye open right now, or at least with the lights on. But we'll definitely make that happen. I want to obviously officially support your show. And one more time, if you haven't yet, please support Mr. White on all these links. He's a great guy. This is one of the guys that's really from our community. He's come up through our community. He's represented our community, and he's doing great things on behalf of our community. And that's why we want to support him in all of his endeavors. IWA Deep South, everything he's going to do in Carnage Cup alongside Mac 10, Cato, all the great guys, Jimmy Controversy, even though we give him grief, and Obey, the birthday boy, so many others. We certainly want to make sure we support these great guys. They're about all wrestling matters here, and they definitely do it for the love of this sport, and that's why we're so happy to have them here. We're going to make that happen, so we'll do 3 for the price of 1, and that'll certainly make the internet explode, but we'll certainly move on with that. So I want to give you guys both some closing thoughts, and obviously it's been a lot of fun. Mac, I'm sure I'll probably see you at some point this weekend. I think maybe, I don't know, well, Anthony's busy. You're going to be on Silverwolf show tomorrow, right?
I should be.
I figured that much. But until then, I'll probably be watching that at some point. But I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything you'd like to share or say before I pass the baton to your compadre, Mr. White?
Now, I'm just going to drop this right here because you've been talking a lot about Masada here lately.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one come Carnage Cup because he's one of the competitors in Carnage Cup this year. So if I get the chance to be in the ring with him during Carnage Cup, I might not live.
What do you want on your tombstone?
Exactly.
Well, you know what? I mean, Hardcore wrestled Man Panda. What was it, about 8 months ago? And he sort of lived, and maybe you'll have the same experience, but better. Who knows? And, you know, hopefully I'll have Masada. Actually, I don't want to say I'm definitely having him on now, especially after Judge Joe Dredd was like, yeah, I'm going to be here. And then he obviously forgot the time of his Yankees game. But, yeah, we're expecting Masada to be here very, very soon. And I'm sure maybe you might want to introduce yourself if that would be so kind on your behalf. No, you don't want to. Would you want to introduce yourself, Masada?
Who knows?
Okay, well, I'll leave that at that, and I'm sure you'll hear real soon about Masada. But speaking about hardcore guys, we actually have one guy from ESW Shockwave who's here Sunday night, and he's actually going to say some things that some people on this platform might actually like about what we think about ESW Shockwave. But Osiris is here live. Osiris, who's here, is kind of their one hardcore wrestler. He's going to shed some light about some of the dealings in ESW Shockwave. It might be a
now before we finish that, Tom, there's just one thing I gotta say to a little guy that we had on the other day. and all his compadres were in the chat talking shit on everybody.
Mhm.
Y'all say that y'all's company is a family. Hell no. Yet come step foot around IWA. That's a family.
Hell yes. And Resurrection, by the way. I do want to put Resurrection out there. But by the way, when he did say that, I did say Resurrection Wrestling. I mentioned a lot of the companies. So certainly the cult-like atmosphere. I'm not going to bore you with that information, Mr. White. There was unfortunately or fortunately, we had a show and Anthony, and we had a guy who calls himself Judgment, and it was what it was. It was what it was. Some people think that there'll actually be something to come out of it. Others do not. Omen and Soldier's side of the story was they think nothing comes out of it. Guys that messaged me said they think that something will come out of it. I have no idea, but I agree with you, though. IWA Deep South is the true definition of family, alongside Resurrection Wrestling, though. Alongside Resurrection. I want to make sure Resurrection gets mentioned there. But I'll certainly leave that for a different time. But the Deathmatch Juggalo, I want to give you the floor. I want to let you say anything else you want to share, any closing thoughts, anything else on your mind. And it's an absolute honor. And I'm looking forward to having you here before July 27th and put you in the Hall of Fame and adding 2 Hall of Fames to your resume alongside that 2nd annual Spider Boudreaux Memorial Deathmatch Gauntlet winner. And it's been a lot of fun, and can't wait to do it again with you next month.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for bringing me on and having me here. I mean, it's been awesome. I've had a great time. Um, my thoughts, I just want to address this. It's okay to not agree on everything and see eye to eye about or agree with what somebody thinks or whatever feels, but that's okay. You can still be friends and not agree on everything. And to the wrestling community in general and deathmatch wrestling too, but in the wrestling community out there, I'm talking about the fans, the marks, all of us, hell, all of us. Stop all this damn hatred, man. Just stop it. You hate on something that you don't understand or whatever. Just come straight to the horse and find out for yourself, or at least do better research than what you're doing. But stop making it so goddamn personal. This is just a business, folks.
I
Stop getting.
couldn't agree with you more. And I think that Wednesday's show, in a way, I think that the people that Mac is referring to, they took personal things that we had said a week and a half ago about their company, and they could not differentiate what specifically I said and a few others, namely Omen Black and Soldier GP, which I won't bore you with the information, but that company in question, their wrestlers took it as a personal swipe, but it wasn't a personal swipe. It was more of a philosophical thing that on this platform we've tried to collaborate, bring people together, build that family atmosphere. And that company in question, the wrestlers that come on here, many of them come on here, but their company alongside those individuals who are, saying certain things into the chat don't really seem to collaborate or cooperate with that message of bringing people together, unity, family like atmosphere. And I think that's where they couldn't differentiate the personal attack. It was more of a philosophical difference. And I think that that's where you're absolutely right. Sometimes people don't seem to kind of differentiate that it's okay to disagree. It's okay to have a different opinion. Not everybody's going to love 100% what people do. And I
Hey,
think that's unfortunate.
newsflash. Just anybody, if you know, it's a work.
Well, I'm not a wrestler. I'm just going to go along. My running joke is whatever you guys say, I'm going along with it. But I want to remind people one more time on this date, June 21st, 2024, it is Brian White Day on all Sportswire radio platforms. And I will give you this physical certificate when we're off the air. And we'll definitely put a date that week of the 27th. I want to get all 3 of you guys into the Hall of Fame and kind of make it a little special, fun night. And we'll talk about the show. And I'll give my support to when you give some more details a little bit more closer on social media. I certainly want to give my support and efforts in that. And I'm praying for you and your family. And I give you so much respect for being here during a difficult time with you and your family. And I just can't thank you enough for all that you've done for this sport. And I definitely look forward to seeing you here soon. And congratulations on all the recent success. Congratulations on the big victory over Jimmy Controversy. Congratulations on the Carnage Cup 13 round 1 victory last year. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in round 14. And Mac, I'm sure I'll see you probably Sunday or tomorrow. Who knows? Well, tomorrow, no, because you're probably on the Silver Wolf show, but probably the next day. But obviously, until then, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for all that you guys done and for this sport, and congratulations on everything. And I look forward to seeing you soon. One more time, Mr. White, I'm praying for you and your wonderful family.
Thank you very much. God bless y'all. Thank you.
Amen to that. That was, ladies and gentlemen, the Deathmatch Juggalo, Brian White. He's also the second annual Spider Boudreaux Memorial Deathmatch Gauntlet winner. You'll see him a part of IWA Deep South and also in Carnage Cup 14. And alongside him, we heard from Kato and Naomi for a little while. We heard from Anthony Steele and also the landlord of Sportswire Radio, Mr. Mac 10. And I think Mr. White left. That's okay. He was going through technical difficulties. My name is the Reverend Tom
Come
Price.
back, Brian.
Your voice, figuratively and literally, of all wrestling matters. And I'll be here tomorrow twice. I'll be here 4 o'clock. Speaking of hardcore wrestlers from my state, New York, we'll hear from King Shock, who is in round 2 of the NEW Underground's Riot in the Ring. He'll be here to talk about that, plus his journey. Then around 10 o'clock Eastern time, I'll be here with Chase Wakefield, who's going to talk about some of the truths in that company in question, because he left that company, and he's going to talk about some things that he kind of saw, and some of them are good, some of them bad, but we'll have to find out all of it. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one global relation that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters, and I'll see everybody tomorrow.